Hey, what's up, YouTube? This will be my first review of a South Korean drama series on YouTube. Usually, I review South Korean drama series on Tumblr.com. If you want to check out my Tumblr page and look at my other reviews in written form, just subscribe to my Tumblr page. It will be in the bottom. The link to that page will be in the bottom of this video. Check it out and have fun with it. Now, the series I'm going to be reviewing today is Queen of Ambition, aka Yawang. It's also known as Night King and King of Ambition. Now, what really got me interested in this series was the actress Park Soo-ae, who I'm a big fan of. She did a good job in A Thousand Days Promise and a couple of other things I've seen her in. She's a really good actress. So I was like, yeah, I got to see this for her. And Kwang Sang-woo, he's also another actor who I'm a big fan of. I've seen him in a lot of movies and a couple other dramas, and I'm a big fan of his work. So those two really got me interested in this series as opposed to the premise of the series. The premise is like it's a revenge fantasy series. That's basically what it is. Now, a couple of things to note before I get really into this review. One, the name pronunciations. I'm not really good at pronouncing South Korean or Korean names in general. I can pronounce Japanese names well, I can pronounce Chinese names well, but for some reason, Korean names are really hard to pronounce. I mean, because the way that they are spelled and the way that they look on, paper and whatnot, is not the way that the people pronounce them in Korea. Like, it's really weird how they pronounce it as opposed to how it's spelled. So bear with me on that. And also, my style of review is sometimes I might do written reviews if I really want to be professional about it, but for the most part I do reviews by just off the spec, just off the cuff, so to speak. So if you're not really used to that style, if you don't like that style, that's really what I do. And if you want to listen in, if you want to continue, please do. Also, I will be spoiling a lot of things. So if you haven't seen the entire series, all 24 episodes, cut this video off now and watch the series and then come back and look at my review. So I'm going to get started by talking about the final 2 episodes, the ending, and then I'm going to give my thoughts on the series as a whole. Okay, so first of all, let's talk about the ending. So the character of Joon-Hee, basically, in the beginning, the first episode, the ending is kind of telegraphed. We kind of know what's going to happen at the end, and then it cuts off. So we get to that part. And let me just say that I'm not happy with the ending, how things ended up. I'm not happy with the writing and even some of the directing in these final episodes. The show had a good start, I think, but when it got towards the end, it started to get really sloppy and really, really poorly done. Now, basically, Joon-Hee has a gun pointed at Hee-Myung, and she basically decides that she's going to, we basically see what happens next is that she basically puts the gun to her own head, and since she feels like she can't get away with her crimes or whatnot, she says, I'm going to shoot myself and you'll be blamed for this. And I'm thinking to myself, I mean, she's a fairly smart character, but the writing was just really poorly done in this scene because, well, first of all, the scene was filmed a little bit out of sync. What I mean is that you can tell that the scene was filmed when the actor and actress, before they cut their hair, because their hair looks so different in the scene, and it's really weird. It's really strange to me why they would do that. But anyway, she has a gun pointed at her head, and I'm thinking to myself, you have your fingerprints all over the gun. They're not gonna blame you for your crime. I mean, for you shooting yourself, they're not gonna blame him, and because he didn't even put his hand on the gun. And I'm like, yeah, that was just poorly done because her character was pretty smart and cunning, and I guess the idea is that she was getting sloppy, she was getting desperate, and she wasn't really thinking. And okay, I can understand that, but I still think that scene was poorly done because, again, she's gonna shoot herself, they're not gonna blame Haruyu. They were gonna blame Daehee because her fingerprints were right on the gun. So there's that. And then, everybody breaks in. The security guards that are there at the Blue House, they break in, and it seems that, through a scuffle, she shot Haruyu by mistake because he tried to stop her. And I also don't like how he was like, why are you living like this, Daehee? Why are you doing all this stuff? Why are you living a life of hell? If you just stop, and if you make a sincere apology to me and to everyone, and to the people, and to all of the people's lives that you've ruined, I'll forgive you. And I'm just like, huh? I'm like, this is a revenge fantasy. She did all these things. I mean, she had a hand in murdering people. First of all, she murdered her stepfather, which I can understand that. That's the only murder I think she was justified in, because in flashbacks when she was a kid, we see that it was suggested that maybe her stepfather used to either one, molest her, or just abuse her physically in some way as a child. So when he sneaked up on her, she kind of panicked, and then she even said to her stepbrother that if she sees him again, she's gonna kill him, and she wants to kill him. So when she saw him again, she just stabbed him. She panicked and she stabbed him, and Haruyu basically saved her by covering up the murder. That's the only murder I think she was somewhat justified in. But she betrayed her husband. She betrayed her daughter. She betrayed everything that she, even her dead parents, her mother. She had a hand in murdering people. Her daughter was killed, you could say, because of her. She wasn't watching her daughter. She had a hand in killing Baek Do-hoon. See? Names pronunciations. Bear with me. And while she didn't do it directly, she basically was going to kill Haruyu. I mean, she had a car there that had a bomb planted in it when the door was opened, and Do-hoon basically stepped in Haryu's place and he was killed. I mean, she ruined so many people's lives, and all for the sake of her greed. She kept saying that she wanted power, and the reason why she wanted power is because she didn't want to be poor again. She didn't want to go back to poverty. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, well, first of all, you were well on your way. I mean, you had basically graduated college, and Haruyu had basically sacrificed everything for her. Everything. He did all this stuff for her, and then she goes, and once she sees like a mansion, she's like, oh, I want that, and I want to be with this guy because he's got a lot of money. A gold digging bitch, basically. And I'm just like, wow. And when we get to the end, her character's just let off way too easily. And the whole thing with Haruyu wanting to forgive her, I'm just like, no, that's stupid. That was pointless. I'm like, she did all these things. Her character is irredeemable. There's no point in forgiving her now. She made her decisions. She made it with a conscious, a self-conscious effort, and she knew what she was doing. So I don't understand what they were trying to do with that relationship, but that was just really, really stupid to me. That scene was just poorly done. I don't know why Haruyu would all of a sudden be like, I'll forgive you, and I'll throw away all the evidence if you just, admit to what you've been doing is wrong. Didn't like that. And then, again, like I said, she was let off too easily. Yes, she was someone humiliated, and the scene in which Haruyu gets out of the hospital and he goes to their old place, and Jo Dae-hae basically comes there too, and that scene was poorly done as well, because she comes into the room and she's like, are you up to something? Is this place filled with wiretaps? And it wasn't. He was like, no, I just want to end everything, and I just want to give you the evidence, and we can just go back to doing what we were doing before this whole revenge thing started. And then his phone rings. And I'm thinking to myself, you gotta know that there's something wrong. Like, Jo Dae-hae should have been like, oh, he's trying to set me up, and she should have left right then and there. But no, he puts the phone on the ground, and she just continues to admit to everything. She makes like a sincere apology, and everything she said was basically heard by the public because it was recorded. and there's that. Now she's basically at the point of no return, and I'm just like, that scene was just really poorly done. I mean, she should have known something was up. I don't know. The writers couldn't come up with a good way to do that type of scene. It was just really poorly done. And basically, we get to a point where she basically is kind of let go. I mean, I know she's the first lady and all of that, but she should have been arrested right then and there. I mean, she basically admitted to murder. She admitted to doing all types of notorious and underhanded things. You know, bribing people with billions of dollars. You know, all types of corruption. And again, murder. She should have been arrested right then and there, but then she's allowed to go back to the White House. I mean, not the White House, but the Blue House. And in South Korea, they gotta have laws like that are similar to American laws, because a lot of the people in here got away with murder, literally and metaphorically. It was just ridiculous. But we get to another scene where basically this is the end, and her stepbrother comes to save her from a crowd because she's basically kicked out of the Blue House, and her stepbrother comes to get her in the car, and they go to like a barren place, like an open field, and he basically tells her to get out of the car, and basically what happens is he basically plans to run her over. He plans to kill her after she betrayed him, and Hee-Myung comes and saves her by stepping in front of the car, and they're both hit. And I'm like, first of all, it didn't even look like they were hit that hard. I mean, again, bad directing on the director's part. And then she basically is dying, and she makes a sincere apology to Hee-Myung, and he basically hears this as he's on the ground bleeding. His head is bleeding, and he just goes unconscious. And I just felt like she was let off too easily. She should have been really humiliated, much more than what she was. I mean, she should have been held to. She should have went to court, you know, had a trial, and everything that she did, she should have admitted to it, and then she should have went to jail for the rest of her life, and that's how the series should have ended. And then Hee-Myung and everybody else should have had a little bit more of a happier ending. Again, she was let off too easily after all the things she did, just poorly done. I mean, and that's not the only bad things that were in this series. Like I said, the writing got really sloppy towards the end. The directing got really sloppy. And even some of the acting went down to like really good to like subpar. You know, I think this series as a whole is, you know, looking at it as a whole, I think it has a good beginning, it has a mediocre middle, and it has a pretty bad ending. And I think overall, I would give it like a C plus. If I'm really generous, I'll give it like a B minus. But for the most part, I'll give it a C plus. I'm not gonna recommend this series honestly to anyone. I wouldn't recommend it. If you like revenge fantasy things, and if you like Park Soo-hye, and if you like Kwang Sang-woo, maybe I would suggest it. But if you're looking for something that's really gripping, has a good start, has a good beginning, middle, and end, don't look at this series, because it's really mediocre at best. You know, like I said, I haven't read the comic, the source material, but just based on the show, it was really, for the most part, poorly done. I mean, the acting in here was really good by Park Soo-hye and Kwang Sang-woo, and even some of the secondary actors, like the Kim Sung-Ryeong. I don't know if I'm pronouncing her name right, probably not, but the lady who plays Baek Do-kang, she does a good job. I liked her character. I thought she was another good actress in here, and there's some other good actors and actresses in here, but the acting isn't really the problem per se. It's just the writing, and it's the directing that's really brings this show down. And honestly, I do think it was dragged out for a little bit too long. I don't think it should have been 24 episodes. Maybe 20 episodes would have been fine. But yeah, I'm really disappointed with the ending. I'm really disappointed with this series, because I had really high hopes considering the talent that was involved in this project. You know, But yeah, I'm just gonna leave this review off now and just go ahead and give it a, you know, C plus. That's all I can say about it. And yeah, that's it. And I hope you guys enjoyed my review. I do have a written review that goes a little bit more in depth into the things I didn't like about it. But other than that, I hope you guys enjoyed this review, and I will be doing more reviews. Another series I'm looking at right now is That Winter That Blows. I'm going to finish that and do a review on that. And I'm looking at Iris 2. And there's some other series I'm going to be looking at. I think it's 9 Time Travels. I'm looking at that as well. So more reviews will be coming if you like this one. And I'm out. Take it easy, people. And tell me what you thought about this in the comments below. What did you think about this series? Did you like it? Did you think it was really good? Or did you think it was mediocre like I did? Or did you just, really hate this series from beginning to end? Take it easy. Oh, one more thing before I go. I do apologize for this, but I wanted to talk about the final scene in which Haruo is basically in the hospital because he's been hit by a car. His head was basically bleeding out and he's unconscious. And he starts reminiscing about the past and when he and Jo-Hee were in an orphanage together. And he starts thinking about her and his daughter and them being together in the end. This was basically the writer's attempt to not only give Haruo closure, tie his story up in a nice bow, but they were also trying to make us sympathize with Jo-Hee. It's a poor attempt to make us feel sorry for a villain because she was the villain of the series. She was a bad person. And I'm just like, no, 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 no. I can't bring myself to like this character. After all the things she's done, again, I said this before, she's irredeemable. I don't know why the writers would try to make us sympathize with her after all the things she's done, because this whole series is the backbone of this revenge fantasy is her. It's everything is her fault. I mean, even as a kid, Haruo was sticking up for her. I mean, I think there was a scene where she stole some money or something like that, and she's about to get a spanking, and Haruo basically comes in and he saves her, and he's the one who takes the blame for her. And you could also say that maybe Haruo was a little bit too codependent on her, and that may be the case, because he does do a lot of things for her, and it does seem a little bit codependent, or he's too obsessed with her maybe, but still, that ending was just completely bullshit in my opinion, because first, you can't make me feel sorry for her character, Jo-Hee. I mean, her character was just evil. She's spiteful. She was she was ambitious in trying to get to power and destroying people's lives and murder and all of that, all this notorious stuff that she did, all this disgusting things that she's accomplished. And then the writers try to make her sympathetic and want to make us feel sorry for the character. And this is a problem I have with not only this series but revenge fantasies, is that they try to redeem villains at the very end. If you really want to make a character redeemable, like I said, you should have had her in the court. You should have had her admit to all her sins and everything she's done in that type of way, in that type of setting. Not just have her killed off and then have Haruo thinking about, reminiscing about her and things like that. and wishing that things went the way he wanted them to go. This was poorly done. And he's just sitting there, and the final scene is him, a tear drops out of his eye, and that's it. I'm just like, nah, that was not a good ending at all. Really not well done. It could have been done in a much more gripping and satisfying and much more interesting way than what they gave us. But the funny thing is, I did find out that the actress Sue, she was like, yeah, I don't think I'm because she got a lot of hate for playing this character. I mean, she does a good job at playing this evil bitch, but she's like, yeah, I'm gonna go to Paris and take a 13-day break, because she did get a lot of hate for this. But I do think she should be nominated for this role for like some type of award, because she did a good job in making me hate her character. So yeah, I'll end it here, and that's my final thoughts. Alright people, take it easy.